Hello, I'm Lyndon and thank you so much for coming to my channel. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, and thank you so much for all of the people that have put some lovely comments in the comment section of my videos saying that these videos are helping them. I can't tell you what a buzz it is to reach through the power of YouTube and touch other people's lives and have them touch my life. It's absolutely fantastic, so thank you so much. Today we're going to be looking at altered scales, okay? Not altered scales, no! Yes, you can do it. Honestly, stay with me, because actually altered scales are really straightforward. Now, I thought that when you listen to one, you'd think that has to be super complicated. I'm not going to be able to understand it, and I don't know where to use it, and even if I did, it's just too much. But it's not. It's okay, right? They're really straightforward if you look at them in the way that I'm going to present this information to you now. So as usual, the easiest way to understand one of these concepts is by having a look at the beautiful piano. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to take you through to the other room and show you an altered scale or two or three on a piano in a way that's really straightforward. So let's go through to the other room. Okay, so the altered scale, super scary scale, right? Only it isn't. One of the reasons why you might find it scary is it's got a couple of different names which are already terrifying. So superlocrian is one, and the other name that it often goes by is altered dominant scale, but they all mean exactly the same thing. The other thing that's interesting about this scale, which I'd like to kind of clear up, is that there are a couple of different ways that we can arrive at the recipe for one. But the way that I'm going to show you is really straightforward, because an altered scale, you could look at it, is exactly the same as a major scale, except the root has been changed. So let's have a look at our old friend C major. So C is always to the left of the two black notes. So this is C and D and E and F and G and A and B and C. And so if I play those notes, now if I want to make an altered scale in the key of C sharp, all I'm going to do is use the notes of C but starting on C sharp. So it's exactly the same bunch of notes but starting on C sharp. Have a listen, it sounds very different. And that is C sharp or D flat altered scale. So C sharp altered is exactly the same as C major, except the root has changed, and now instead of having C as the root, you have C sharp as the root. So the notes would be C sharp, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C sharp. So if I want to work that out, if I see C sharp altered on a chord chart, I just have to think to myself, what is a semitone below C sharp or D flat? And play the notes of the major scale, but instead of playing the root, play C sharp instead. So let's find another example. And the example that I'm going to use is F sharp altered. That's got to be really difficult, right? Only it isn't, because what is a semitone below F sharp? And the answer is F. So here's F major. So F sharp altered would be the same bunch of notes but with no F and an F sharp as the root instead. Let's find one more example. Let's do G sharp altered. If I think about G sharp altered or A flat altered, all I have to do is to think to myself, what is a semitone below? So it'd be all the notes of G major, but instead of the G, I'm going to substitute the G for a G sharp, and that will give me G sharp altered. Excuse my awful fingering for piano. So that would be G sharp altered. G sharp altered is exactly the same as G major, but starting on a G sharp, substituting the root. And it really is as simple as that. Okay, so welcome back. And isn't it so obvious? It's just really straightforward. Now, I must say there are other ways that you can arrive at the recipe for an altered scale. And I don't want to confuse matters, because the way that I've just explained it to you there as exactly the same as a major scale, but the root gets sharpened, is a really good way of thinking about it. But sometimes you might hear it referred to as the seventh mode of a melodic minor, and that's right as well, but I prefer this way of thinking about altered scales. So the next question is, where do you use an altered scale? Well, there are loads of places that you could potentially use it, but I think the most common place is going to be if you saw G7 alt, A-L-T, on a chord, then that would definitely indicate to use the altered scale. But here's where everybody uses one. It's over a dominant seventh. So if you saw G7, you could use G altered scale. And G altered scale would be exactly the same bunch of notes as, let me think about this, what is a semitone below G? It would be F sharp. So I'm going to be playing F sharp major, but instead of using an F sharp as my start note, I'm using G. So it's exactly the same as F sharp major, but starting on a G. So what are the notes of F sharp major? You've got F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp. Now they call it E sharp, but it is effectively an F and F sharp. So now my notes are going to be G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp or F, and G. And that would be G altered. And I'm going to use that over my dominant seventh chord. And here's what it would sound like on an alto saxophone. So just the scale on its own. And what I've done is I've set up a 251 on my Session Band Jazz Volume 1 app, and it's a 251 in the key of C. So my chords are going to be D minor, G7, C major. So if I just play something diatonic, in other words, if I just play the chord tones from each one of those chords, it will sound really nice. That will sound like this. So I'm just playing the root 3, 5, 7, 9 of each chord, and if I was to play the scale of each one, it would sound like this. This is not the altered scale, this is just the regular scales, Dorian, Mixolydian and major. And again, that sounds very nice. It sounds kind of safe and sweet and very nice. That would sound lovely. But the function of an altered scale is to ramp up the tension. The way that a 251 works is by the Dorian creates tension, the Mixolydian creates tension, which is then resolved on the major scale at the end, the Ionian. But what an altered scale does is it takes that tension and it racks it up to the absolute max. So if I was to play, what I'm going to do is to train myself to get used to this. Instead of playing very much over the D minor, I'm just going to play the root over the D minor, then I'm going to put the altered scale in over the G7, and then I'm just going to play the root or root and third for the C. Have a listen. Do that again. So as you can hear, it's got a really kind of tense sound which racks up the tension hugely. So then once I've got used to doing that, the next stage is to take it up a little bit, and I'm going to play a lovely phrase over the Dorian minor, very simple, just using the scale tones. Then I'm going to play a phrase using the G7 altered scale, and then I'm going to play a phrase using the C major. But if that overloads me and I'm not used to doing that, then I would go back just to playing the root and just getting the scale, this new sound under my fingers first. But this would be the next step, so have a listen. And you can hear how beautiful that sounds. So that was altered scales, also known as superlocrian scales, also known as altered dominant scales. I love the way to think about them as a major scale, but just with a different root. So you've substituted the root for another note. I think that's the easiest way, but you can think about them, just in case people are out there going, no, that's not how to think about them. You think about them as the seventh mode of a melodic minor. Well, that's right as well. It's all good. And by the way, one more thing is that this is also the sound of a tritone substitution. What? Don't worry about it, right? Just learn your altered scales. They're absolutely fantastic. Once again, thank you so much. I'm just absolutely blown away with all of your lovely comments and support. If there's things that you would like to learn, or there's things that I can help you with, then put them in the comments below, because I aim to respond to everybody's comment as quickly as I can. Even sometimes in the night, if I see that I've got a comment up and I wake up in the night, I'll try and respond really, really quickly. Thank you so much. Thank you for the people that have bought me coffees and supported me on this channel. It's just been such an incredible journey so far. I'm really, really grateful. Have a lovely rest of your day / evening / morning, wherever you are. Once again, my name's Lyndon. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.